This warning means you have a problem in your data. Scikit-learn, a popular Python library for machine learning, is telling you that the number of samples, data points, in different parts of your data don't match. For example, you might have 100 samples for one feature, and 200 samples for another. This is like trying to bake a cake with uneven amounts of ingredients. I'm asking you to identify what's going on when I get the warning message and what to do about it. This sets the stage. I'm training a model in scikit-learn, and it's complaining about a data mismatch. I'm going to have to troubleshoot the data. This is absolutely correct. The warning is pointing to a problem in how I prepared the data before training the model. I need to double-check the number of samples I have for my input features, characteristics of my data, and my target variable, what I want to predict. While it could reduce accuracy, it's not guaranteed. It's more like a yellow flag, not a red flag. I could still get decent results, but there is a possibility that it might hurt performance. This is very important. Even if the model trains without crashing, the predictions might be unreliable, or I might get unexpected errors later. I can't safely ignore this. That's a big no. Ignoring it would be a recipe for disaster. The model may complete, but the results will almost certainly be wrong because the model's been given inconsistent input data. This summarizes the core issue. The sizes of my datasets, number of data points, don't line up. This reminds me of the context. It's all about the process of building my machine learning model. This line highlights the core problem. We have a mismatch in the number of data points between our features and the target variable in the machine learning model. We need to fix this. It's like trying to assemble a puzzle with pieces from two different puzzles. They simply won't fit together correctly. This specifies that our feature set, represented by X, contains 100 data points. Think of features as the different characteristics or attributes we use to describe our data. For example, if predicting house prices, features could include size, location, number of bedrooms, etc. Here, Y represents our target variable, which has 200 samples. The target variable is what we want to predict. In our house price example, this would be the actual price of the house. Note that there is a significant difference between the number of samples in X and Y, which needs to be addressed. This row poses a question regarding a scikit-learn efficiency warning. The warning message alerts us to potential issues before causing complete failure. Early warnings are great. They give us a chance to fix problems before they snowball. This is a true statement and accurately explains the core problem identified by the warning message. It correctly points out the mismatch between the number of samples in the features, X, and the target variable, Y. We need to address this data issue. I agree that ignoring the warning is a mistake. Even if the model trains, results might be wrong because of the data inconsistency. It's like building a house on a weak foundation. It may seem to stand initially, but it's very likely to collapse eventually. NO indicates a problem. I see that the sample sizes don't match. This means we have a data mismatch. Perhaps one dataset has 100 samples, and another has 200. This is where we need to pause and correct the problem before continuing. The model can't be trained reliably with inconsistent data. Data correction, resampling, data cleaning, is now my focus. I'll need to fix this. The inconsistent data is preventing a proper model training. I need to use techniques like resampling to match the number of samples, or data cleaning, to remove irrelevant samples, to make sure the data is consistent before I can proceed. If the sample sizes are consistent, yes, then I can move to the model training phase. This is a crucial step. After data pre-processing and checking for sample size consistency, I can finally train my model. If the number of samples matches, then I'm ready to proceed and build a robust model. This is the critical point. Checking for sample size consistency. I need to make sure the feature data and the target variable data have the same number of samples. This step ensures that the model has a consistent set of data to learn from. Inconsistent data can lead to errors during model training. This is my data pre-processing step. I'm reviewing the data for inconsistencies and ensuring its readiness for model training. This is important for model quality. I want to ensure that the data is well prepared, including checking for the consistency of the number of samples, before I proceed with model training. I see this step as crucial. After spotting the size mismatch, you must actively correct it. Don't ignore the warning. This might involve how you loaded your data. You'll probably need to review your data pre-processing steps to make sure everything lines up perfectly. Think of it like matching socks. You can't have one sock of one size and another of a different size. You need equal pairs. Once you've fixed the data issue, ensuring that features and target variables have the same number of samples, you can resume the model training. Now that everything is aligned, your model can accurately make predictions. Think of this as getting your socks sorted, and now you can go outside to play. I see this question as the core of the problem. We need to analyze the warning message to determine which statements are correct. The warning points to a mismatch in the number of samples in the dataset used for machine learning model training. This statement is absolutely correct. The warning explicitly states that there's an inconsistency in the number of samples, meaning there is a mismatch between the number of samples in the features and the number of samples in the target variable. This is a problem that will arise during data preparation. This statement is also correct. Ignoring the warning is risky. While you might be able to train the model, the results will be unreliable. Your model's predictions can be incorrect due to the inconsistency. I would say this statement is potentially true, but not guaranteed. The impact on accuracy depends on how this size mismatch affects the underlying data relationships. It is more like a risk factor than a definite consequence. This statement is incorrect. Even if your model trains without error messages, the data inconsistency leads to questionable results. You are effectively training a model on incomplete or distorted information. That will likely result in flawed conclusions. This is a warning from the popular Python machine learning library, sklearn, often abbreviated as sklearn. The warning itself describes a situation where you feed data with different numbers of samples to a model in sklearn. This simply summarizes the core problem highlighted by the warning. It indicates a mismatch between the number of data points, samples, in different parts of the dataset used for training a machine learning model. This is a crucial issue that needs attention. This refers to the independent variables or predictors that will be used to predict the target variable, y. Think of it as the input or explanatory data. This is the dependent variable, what you are trying to predict. For example, if you're predicting house prices, this would be the house prices themselves. This specifies a dataset containing 200 data points or samples. This indicates another dataset with only 100 data points or samples. The mismatch between 100 and 200 samples triggers the warning. I see a problem. Scikit-learn, a popular machine learning library, through an EfficiencyWarning, found input variables with inconsistent numbers of samples. 100, 200. This means your data's features and target variable have different sample sizes. It's like trying to bake a cake with two different sized bowls of flour. It's not gonna work. This is the warning message itself. It explicitly tells you that you have 100 samples in one part of your data and 200 in another. This is a mismatch you need to address. This introduces the multiple choice questions to test your understanding of the warning. This question asks which statements about the warning are correct. We need to carefully analyze each statement to determine its truthfulness. This is ABSOLUTELYCORRECT. The warning directly points to this issue, a mismatch in the number of samples between features and the target variable. While this is possible, it's not guaranteed. The effect on accuracy will vary depending on the specific type of model and the nature of data. I think it's too strong a statement to be completely accurate. This is definitely true. Training a model with mismatched data is problematic. You might get surprising or incorrect results. So don't ignore it. This is completely false. Even if the model trains without any other error messages, your results are suspect. The inconsistent sample size indicates faulty data, and this will undermine model reliability. This section sets the stage for the problem. It provides a heading introducing the flow of data. Your features, inputs, have 100 samples, rows of data. Your target variable, outputs, has 200 samples, a mismatch. Because of the inconsistency of samples between features and target, a warning was triggered. The root cause: an error in the data preparation or pre-processing stage.